Today on the Possibility Mom Live, I'm in an extra spicy mood. And I have got some harsh truths to share that I wish someone had shared with me at the beginning of my business journey as to why your business might not be growing. That's what we got today on the Possibility Mom Live. Harsh truths. I want to share these with a lot of love. Hear me loud and clear. Empathy is my number one in Clifton Strengths Finder. So hear me loud and clear. I share these with a lot of love. But these are also things that I wish someone had just flat out told me. And I wish I had really just learned and started implementing much earlier in my business. And so I hope this podcast episode gives you some comfort, gives you some things to really think about and discern and reflect on in your own life. Um, I present these all truly for curiosity. May I invite you to become curious about how these following things show up in your life and just continue to be curious and ask the Lord for guidance on how to navigate them if you feel as you're listening that these apply to you. Okay, so in no particular order, here are some harsh truths around why your business may not be growing. Number one, you don't like being uncomfortable and you don't want to deal with it. I have never experienced anything in my life where there is opportunity to be uncomfortable like business. Going live on camera, speaking succinctly, being vulnerable, telling stories, pitching your service, creating copy, doing things for the first time. There are so many things that one does for the very first time when you have a business. And I used to think that, oh, one day I'll be a master and then this discomfort won't exist anymore. I hate to break it to you. That's just not the reality because when you get to a new threshold, when you get to a new level in your business, when you get to a new income level, there are just new things that present themselves, new levels of discomfort that you need to deal with. I was just sharing this with a client of mine that there are maybe 1,000 ways. I know this is going to sound harsh. There are maybe 1,000 ways that a person can fail in a single launch experience of a new product. I'm going to say that one more time. There are maybe 1,000 ways that one can fail when you are launching a new product or launching anything at all. And when I say 1,000 things, I'm talking very I'm really breaking it down. So, for example, you could have a typo on an email. You could send an email with the wrong day or time. You could create an Instagram post and there's a typo in the post. You could do a reel on Instagram and when there's the cover photo that freezes your face, it could be like a really not flattering image of your face, and so on and so forth. And when I say fail, I'm going to get to this a little bit later. I'm putting them in air quotes in a way, but I just mean there are so many moving pieces to, especially an online business, that there really are so many different ways that one could make a mistake. And so in my own experience as an entrepreneur, I would just run for the hills. And I remember getting coached on this in my coaching community that I'm a part of, where I presented this irrational fear of failure I had. And I was going on and on and on about, things from my childhood and I was bringing up all these things. And my coach was just like, "It sounds like you have just like a total fear of being uncomfortable. Like you don't want to be uncomfortable." And I was like, "Yeah." I don't want to be uncomfortable in any way. I want things to be light, bright, happy, and I want to win all the time. Winning is so much better. And she just was like, "I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to win all the time. You're not going to win all the time and being uncomfortable, feeling discomfort, feeling fear, disappointment, shame, frustration, all of these things are all simply a reality of business." This is why, if you recall, a couple weeks ago on the podcast, I had the lovely Beth Bubick. She's a Catholic fasting coach. I have really only discovered this spiritual practice of fasting, spiritually fasting. So, not just giving up food because you're allergic to it, but giving up food for a real spiritual purpose. I believe, I'm going to make a very bold assertion here. I believe that every entrepreneur, and I mean every Catholic entrepreneur, but really every entrepreneur, should practice spiritual fasting because I have not experienced personally myself. You hear these phrases like fail yourself faster, fail your way to success. These are all like, I love these quotes. I have not, in my personal 38 years of life, experienced anything that has helped me to deal with discomfort like spiritual fasting. Because I've just learned, and I want to invite you to go listen to that podcast episode. It's a few podcast episodes before this one, or simply look at the link in this description or go follow the Catholic fasting coach wherever you like to, be online. She's on Instagram and various other places. Because when you are uncomfortable, so when I'm tired at the end of a day and I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be annoyed because my kids didn't listen to me after bedtime. I don't want to feel this feeling of like, ugh, like annoyance or frustration. I want to drink." And you take that feeling of discomfort and actually get comfortable with it and then decide not to drink and instead offer that suffering up for a cause. Oh my goodness, has that been for me a very effective way to get comfortable with discomfort? And again, I wish someone had told me this so long ago in my entrepreneurial journey. You're not going to move forward in business if you're afraid of what people think, if you're afraid of disappointment, if you are afraid of looking foolish, if you are afraid of launching something and then nobody buying, if you are afraid of hosting a webinar and nobody showing up, if you don't want to deal with critics, if you don't want to deal with negative comments, like, and so on and so on and so on and so on, what all of these things have in common is your discomfort. Again, I say all of these truths with a lot of love, but the first harsh truth that I want to share is this concept of you don't like being uncomfortable and you don't want to deal with it. That's the first harsh truth around growth in business. The great news is it's totally possible to deal with it, and it happens so much in the mind. And again, like I shared, Beth Bubick and her work on fasting has been such a compelling and interesting way for me to look at getting comfortable with discomfort. So I want to invite you to go and look at her work. She's actually having a sale to the end of the day today. So at time of recording, Friday, August 19th, there is a very special coupon code that you can take advantage of, 500 off, and it's all in the description of this podcast. So number 1, you don't like being uncomfortable. You don't want to deal with it. The second harsh truth that might be limiting the way your business is going to grow is that you're looking for perfect solutions and not accepting trade offs. There's a quote by Thomas Sowell: "There are no solutions, only trade offs." And I want to expand on this with a couple of personal examples and examples from my coaching clients. I remember thinking that I wanted to do everything in my business myself. This is a very recent, if I'm being honest, like this is a very recent realization. And it's one that I have a feeling is going to take me a while to continue to learn and change my behavior around. But when we try, so my example is trying to do everything myself, because to me, it's a more perfect solution. I'm like, oh, it's going to take me longer to explain this to someone, so I should just do it myself. Or, oh, if they write an email or if they write some sales copy for me, it's not going to sound like me. So it's just better that I sit down and do it myself. Oh, it's only going to take me like 5 minutes to edit that video. So I should just do it, and so on and so forth. So in my head, it's a more perfect solution that I just do things myself because it's faster, it's cheaper, and nobody's going to do it as well as I'm going to do it. And what I have learned to be true is that is simply not the case. What I've experienced in my own business is that then my to-do list is 1,000 miles long. I then can be very prone to just hustling hard and staying up late and then doing all of this myself. And then it comes at the trade off of my sleep and my health, my adrenal glands, and all the things. Whereas the trade off in this particular example is that I might have to guide someone in how I want something to sound or how I want something to look. So the trade off is that the first time I have someone else do something, there might be a little bit of coaching required, or there might be, yes, a little bit of time invested the very first time I pass off a task. But then what's wonderful is the next time that thing has to get done, no more learning curve. And so I think it can be very tempting for the entrepreneur to look for a perfect solution and think that that is the one and hold real tight onto that. When really we have to look at things more from the perspective of what is the trade off. And in fact, there's something pretty huge to be gained. This happens to my clients very much in childcare. I was coaching a client once around going to a conference, and she was like, I really want to go to this conference. I think it's going to benefit me immensely. The time away, just to myself to focus on my business, I know will benefit me immensely, but there's no way I can leave my kids with someone else. And again, it's like this perfect solution is I need to be the one to watch my children. No one else can do it better than I can. But the trade off in this situation may be that they actually are going to have the best time with their dad. They're going to have a great time with their dad, or they're going to have a great time with their dad and a combination of other family members or people that come in to assist. And the incredible trade off is that, yes, they will be apart from you for a short period, but you will have, for example, written a big portion of a book, or you will have created in a few days' time videos and content and whatever it is that you're going to this conference for or this time away from your family for. There can be an incredible trade off in that regard where something has been moved forward in a concentrated amount of time. And then it's kind of like out of your head and you don't need to worry about it. And so the second harsh truth is that we can look for perfect solutions. And instead, I want to encourage us to think about, well, what is the trade off? And that trade off actually could be something kind of awesome. Harsh truth number 3 is you are drawing the wrong conclusions from failure or disappointment. A lot of the things I'm talking about today go right back up to point number 1. This thing around, can we get comfortable with disappointment? Can we get comfortable with negative emotions? Can we get comfortable with being uncomfortable? And so failure can have, depending on your relationship with failure in the past and what you make that mean about you, failure can naturally have a whole bunch of ramifications that come along with it. If you tie your self-worth to your performance, if you tie your self-worth to how much money you make on a launch or on an event or with a product, if you tie your self-worth to how many Instagram followers you have, how many people heart a post and so on and so forth, this is going to be really 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 challenging for you. And so my recommendation instead is that we reframe failure to have be completely neutral. What if failure was completely neutral? I'm going to say that one more time. What if failure was completely neutral? What if instead of failing, we either win or we learn? What if every time you try something, like host a webinar and nobody shows up, your immediate thought is, oh, oh my gosh, I have an amazing piece of content that I can now repurpose. What if every time you host an event and something goes wrong, you have this thought of, oh my gosh, I have yet another way that I have informed my subconscious that I am an amazing presenter. Becoming more neutral around failure is something I wish I had learned so much earlier in my entrepreneurial journey because I believe it helps us to get out of our own way. So let's get a little bit more comfortable with failure and all the things that up until this point you might have had made it mean about you. I want to pause on this thought for just a second. We make things mean things about us. We make things mean things about us. And you have an option if you believe that or not. This is one of the things in my last sort of 2-year journey with mindset coaching in a more Catholic anthropology. This is one of the things that I think has been the most valuable. My coach, Erin, has said to me so many times, what are you making that mean about you? Oh, nobody showed up for your webinar. What are you making that mean about you? And of course, in my head, I'm like, well, nobody likes me. Nobody wants to hear me talk about this topic. Nobody wants to, buy my product. Nobody wants to listen to me, XYZ. What if none of that is true? And what if our ability to reframe failure to something a heck of a lot more neutral is actually the way we're going to make progress already? Harsh truth number 4 is fear. Like you are afraid to invest in you and your business. This one is a difficult one. We're in interesting times right now where I think a lot of families are making difficult decisions about where they are putting their money. I'm certainly becoming a lot more savvy around how I'm grocery shopping, particularly. I'm becoming a lot more savvy around my electricity usage in my home. And so this is a one that I think is, I just want to be very grounded in reality, that I understand that there are some interesting things that we are navigating right now at time of recording. But I want to suggest that it is simply a fact that it is difficult to move ahead when you don't know things that you do not know. And that, yes, there are so many different ways that one can learn how to grow a business. There are so many ways that one can learn how to improve themselves, but it can be done a lot more efficiently when there is somebody just a little bit ahead of us on the journey who can make that process of learning something so much faster. The other thing that I want to suggest for this harsh truth is that it is simply a reality that, when made with a lot of discernment and made very carefully, that an investment can pay itself back and then some. An investment in you and an investment in your business can pay itself back and then some when discerned properly, when you have read testimonials, when you have, just done thorough research into the thing that you are investing in or you're discerning investing in. That thing can certainly help you in so many ways. And I want to share too that the benefits of investing yourself can be monetary, but can also be so much more than monetary. They can be around things like decreasing stress. It can be around things like improved relationships that, yes, may not have a immediate monetary measurement, but in the person you are becoming and your ability to perhaps think clearer, think in a more strategic way or in a more docile way when stress does happen, and so on, can prove to be something that pays itself back for days and weeks and years to come. And so, this fear around investing in yourself and in your business, whether it be in a program or in a course or in a coach, I want to encourage this harsh truth that there can be, again, so much benefit, both monetary and beyond monetary, that can pay dividends in the future. And then this final one, this final harsh truth, is so related to all of the harsh truths from before. And that is that you can be habitually choosing a spiraling thought that inhibits your progress. One of my favorite things in Wealth Without Guilt, which is my group coaching experience for Catholic moms, is my Monday live coaching. Every Monday at 2 p.m. East, I coach moms live on primarily on their thoughts. We certainly talk about tactics and marketing ideas and, different ideas that are really fun and more from a, action line point of view. But my favorite thing to coach on is thoughts that inhibit action. And these are thoughts that we all have. I have a thought daily, I would say, around not being able to make it. And it's like different iterations every time. Sometimes I'm just like, there's no way I can do this. That's a thought that's in my brain a lot. There's a thought, I have the literal thought, I'm not going to make it. Like, I'm so tired. There's no way that I'm going to do everything on my to do list. But it's always a different iteration around, I'm not going to make it. Like, something's not going to get accomplished. Um, And I make that mean a lot about me. But what I have learned as a result of coaching, so hear me loud and clear, it's not that you won't have these thoughts. And maybe eventually you might not. Like maybe it's very possible you may not ever have these thoughts again. But what I'm suggesting here is it's in your response. It is entirely and completely possible to break a habit around the way you think. So I have this habitual thought around, I'm not going to make it. Oh my gosh, you're so tired. There's no way this is going to happen. There's no way you can do this. And in the past, I would have just been like, okay, it's time to go eat some ice cream and it's time to go and like hide in my room and not come out. And again, hear me loud and clear. Sometimes we need to rest. Sometimes we need to take that pause. I'm not saying you don't rest, you don't pause. But what I'm saying is constantly retreating is not going to get you towards the goal that you feel like the Lord has placed in your heart. And so, what we need to do instead is develop a habit of trust. What we need to do instead is turn our eyes to our Creator. We need to turn our eyes to Jesus, ask Him to reveal the truth of who we are. Ask Him to reveal the truth of that particular situation and habitually come up with different thoughts that will actually get us to a more healthy place and one that is grounded in the truth of who we are. I'm going to say that last part again. What we need to do instead is get ourselves to a healthy space that is grounded in the truth of who we are. To go back to my thought, the reality is I might not be able to do all the things on my to do list. The reality is I might not be able to accomplish all the things I want to accomplish. But I also know, as we read in Second Corinthians, I can boast of my weakness because Christ's power can make me perfect. Apologies for the paraphrase. I really should pull up exact Bible phrases when I'm doing these podcasts, but I'm getting better at memorizing. It's taken me many years to memorize scripture. Only in my adulthood have I really like learned to memorize scripture. It was just wasn't something that I grew up with. Power is made perfect. And so that is going to put me in a place of greater curiosity. Just think about that for a second. Me telling myself there's no way you can do this, so you should just give up, makes me feel pretty deflated, pretty defeated. I might do the work, but I might hustle and be really like unpleasant in the way that I'm doing it. It might make me snap at my children and be resentful towards my business, and that's nothing that I want. But putting myself in this posture of, okay, Lord, you will make the time for whatever you want me to do. Putting myself in a posture of the Lord will grant me the energy for whatever He wants me to do. This is a totally different disposition, totally different emotion. For me, that elicits freedom and levity. It just doesn't feel as heavy. And you better believe that is going to produce very different actions. Again, I share all of these truths with an invitation for you to get curious. Get curious about what these might mean for you. Get curious about what the Lord might be directing you in all of these. And if you found this intriguing, I want to invite you to join me at my upcoming Possibility Mom Business Summit, which is happening next Friday. We are 7 days away, 7 days away from this incredible live event where I have gathered 30 plus. And actually, because of the inclusion of my April 2022 summit, as well as a best of roundup of my past summits, I think it's actually close to like 80 interviews. It's kind of incredible. And we are exploring this topic of what it looks like to trust the Lord with your business. What does it look like to invite the Holy Spirit into your activities? What does it look like to relent of ungodly self reliance and instead put yourself completely in a posture of surrender to our Lord? That is what is coming up on the Possibility Mom Business Summit. And I cannot wait to see you next week. You can grab your completely free ticket in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I hope this podcast has given you some things to be curious about. And we will see you next week live for the Possibility Mom Business Summit. Such a joy to spend time with you.